In this video, I'm going to show you 10 common situations where very often players have difficulties to find best option of positioning. I will show you some possible options explaining advantages and disadvantages, as well as decide which of them is best depending on whether you are beginner or more experienced player, to help choose most comfortable option with highest benefit according to your skills. I'm sure that this lesson will be a great learning experience for you, so in this case, if you want more videos like this, then please consider leaving a thumbs up for me and hit the subscribe button to never miss my new video productions. Let's do this! We need to start with this extremely common and easy shot, where we need to make position for the 9 ball which is located on foot spot. First, very obvious solution is to hit the cue ball very low with touch of left spin, to keep it on the left side of the table using only one rail. You can also place the cue ball on the other side of the table using one rail again. This shot requires from us high-speed control to avoid leaving the cue ball too close to the rail. And actually we can play a bit harder and use another long rail, but this time we face high risk that we misjudge this contact and scratch in the side pocket. To avoid these problems, we can use more speed and more confident stroke by applying low left spin and cause the cue ball to go around the 9 ball to the right side of the table using 3 rails. This shot is very predictable and repeatable. But there is one more option where this time the only thing which you need to do is to hit the cue ball slightly above its center and apply high speed. During this shot, cue ball follows very original path and we are able to land on the left side of the table with pretty nice position for the 9 ball. If you don't feel very comfortable on this situation, there you should use first option, but on the other hand, if you want to use more confident stroke, then you need to consider third option as the most promising one. Going forward, we need to look closer at this situation where once again 9 ball is located on the foot spot, while object ball is on the head string, very close to the long rail. Very often players try to play deep draw with touch of right spin to land on the left side of the table using only one rail. And actually this option is not bad, but it requires good speed control to avoid leaving the cue ball in uncomfortable place. We can produce much better position using second option, which is very similar, but we use another rail to make position in same area. This time there is some risk that we can scratch in the side pocket, so this shot requires from us high confidence to make a contact with second rail in correct point. And actually I can see only one more option where this time we need to hit the cue ball slightly above its center with bit of left spin. After this hit, cue ball touches 3 rails and going towards right side of the table. But this attempt requires very high speed control because we can very easily lose position for the 9 ball. In my opinion, first option is good for beginners, but if you are more experienced, then you should use second option, which in my opinion gives much higher benefit. We need to discover this another easy looking situation where object ball is frozen to the short rail, very close to the corner pocket. First obvious option requires from us to hit the cue ball with bit of low left spin to make one rail positioning. But once again, this option requires good path control because we can very easily scratch in the side pocket. So in this case, to avoid this problem, we can use second option where this time we use less spin and more speed to cause the cue ball to go up and down and touch 2 rails. But there is some risk that we can scratch in the top right corner if we use too much spin, so in this case there is third and last option where this time we need to apply a bit of top right spin and medium speed. Cue ball touches 3 rails and follows very safe path, which makes this attempt worth to consider. Anyway, if you are a beginner, you should choose first option to increase cue ball control, but on the other hand, if you are a more experienced player, then you can use last option to increase possible benefit. Let's look at this situation where we face easy and obvious situation, where we need to make position for the 9 ball, which is located on 3rd diamond very close to the left long rail. First, very easy solution requires from us to hit the cue ball slightly above its center and use low speed to make position for the 9 ball to the top left corner. But if you want to make position to the bottom left corner, then you can use second option, where this time you need to apply a lot of top left spin and medium speed. This shot requires from us good understanding of deflection, so in this case we can use third option, where this time we need to hit the cue ball slightly below its center and use very high speed. Cue ball touches both long rails to land on the left side of the table, but there is very high risk to scratch in the right side pocket or land very high, what increases difficulty of next shot. And actually, I can see last but most difficult option, where you need to apply a bit of center left spin and high speed to cause the cue ball to touch 3 rails to land in pretty nice place for the 9 ball. This shot is extremely difficult because it requires very high speed control, so if you are a beginner you should use first option and low speed shot. But on the other hand, if you want to use more confident stroke, then you should consider second option as the most promising one. We need to face this situation where we experience same shot like before, but this time we play object ball into the top left corner and need to make position for the 9 ball, which is located on foot spot. First option, which I can recommend, requires from us to hit the cue ball slightly below its center with touch of right spin to make a contact with right long rail and land on the left side of the table. But during this attempt, we need to be very careful to avoid leaving the cue ball in uncomfortable place. To increase cue ball control accuracy, you can use second option, where this time we need to apply top left spin and use 2 rails to land for the 9 ball on the right side of the table. If you don't feel shot with high amount of side spin, then you can use third solution, where this time we need to apply a bit of top right spin and using 2 rails land on the right side of the table. However, this time we need to control speed of the shot much better than in previous option. And actually, I can see only one more option, where this time we need to apply a bit of center left spin to cause the cue ball to use 3 rails and land on the right side of the table. This option is most difficult because it requires very high speed control, so in this case, if you do not feel confident, then you should use second option to increase benefit. But if you want to use more confident stroke and you understand speed control, then you can use first option as the most promising one. Let's move to the 6th example of common situation, where we have to play non-obvious object ball and make position for the 9 ball, which is placed once again on foot spot. We have several good options, and in the first one we need to cut object ball into the right side pocket using a bit of right spin to cause the cue ball to use 2 rails and land on the right side of the table. We can also make position to the left side of the table, but this time we need to apply low left spin and after contact with 2 rails, land in pretty nice place. There is third option, where once again we need to put object ball into the same pocket, but this time we need to apply more speed and a bit of top right spin. Cue ball touches 4 rails and going around the 9 ball to the left side of the table, but this shot requires very high speed control. And actually, we can pot object ball into the top right corner and use stop shot to land on the right side of the table with possible contact with one rail. But if you don't feel this type of shot, then you can use more speed, and if you apply a bit of low right spin, you can once again move the cue ball to the left side of the table using 3 rails and going around the 9 ball from behind. This is difficult to choose best option, but I think that if you are a beginner, you should use 4th option with very simple positioning. But on the other hand, if you don't have problems with thin cut shots, then you definitely need to consider 1st option as the most promising one. Looking forward, we can find this situation where once again we need to play similar object ball like before, but this time we have angle towards bottom side of the table. 9 ball is located on 3rd diamond very close to the left long rail, and in 1st option we need to apply a bit of low right spin and land for the 9 ball using only one rail. This option is nice, but we need to control path of the cue ball to avoid possible scratch inside pocket. To avoid this problem, we can use 2nd option where we need to cut object ball again, but this time you need to apply a bit of top left spin and make position for the 9 ball using 3 or 4 rails. We use more speed and more confident stroke, but this attempt requires high speed control. Same like in previous situation, we can pot object ball into the corner pocket, and in 1st scenario you need to play stun shot using a bit of right spin. After this hit, cue ball touches only one rail and lands in pretty good place, but this shot requires high confidence to avoid possible scratch in the right side pocket. And finally, we have last good option where once again we need to pot object ball into the corner pocket, but this time using a bit of low left spin. Cue ball touches 2 or 3 rails and going for the 9 ball from behind, following very safe path. If you are a beginner and you want to play easiest shot, then you should choose 1st option to increase benefit. But on the other hand, if you feel very confident and your cue ball control is on a very high level, then you should choose last option as the most promising one. Let's discover 8th situation where we face very uncomfortable angle and non-obvious shot. This is another example where we have several good options, and in 1st one we need to pot object ball into the bottom left corner by hitting it slightly below its center with touch of left spin and make position for the 9 ball on the right side of the table using one rail. But if you want to use more confident stroke, then using similar spin we can make position to the left side of the table after contact with same rail. Using 3rd option, we can cause the cue ball to follow its natural path around the 9 ball using 3 rails, and we can achieve it by hitting it slightly above its center. We can also pot object ball into the opposite corner, and in 1st scenario you can leave the cue ball on the left side of the table using only one rail by applying low right spin. Very often players don't like to use low speed on this type of shot, so in this case you can apply top right spin and medium speed, and cue ball after contacting 2 rails lands in similar place like before. But if you don't like to use high amount of side spin, then you need to consider this option where we need to hit the cue ball with bit of center left spin and cause it to go around the 9 ball to the right side of the table using 3 rails. Each option has its advantages and disadvantages, but in my opinion, if you are a beginner, then you should use 4th option, as it do not require a lot of skill. But on the other hand, if you have more experience and you understand speed of the shot, then you need to consider 3rd option to achieve very high benefit. We need to see this very interesting situation where players have difficulties to choose best solution. We have to play very thin cut shot, and in first option you need to apply a lot of right spin to make position for the 9-ball using only one rail. However, this shot is very difficult due to high amount of side spin, and we can very easily miss object ball. And to avoid this problem, you can use second option, where we need to apply only touch of center left spin and medium speed to cause the cue ball to make a contact with 3 rails and follow very safe path. And finally, there is one more option, where this time we need to apply low left spin and low speed. During this shot, cue ball makes a contact with 2 rails and follows comfortable path, and due to very high speed control, this shot is best option for beginners. But if you are more experienced pool player and feel high confidence, then you can use second option as the most promising one. And finally, I am going to show you this situation where we need to execute very thin cut shot and make position for the 9-ball, which is located in center point of the table. This time I can see only 2 solutions, where in the first one we need to use bit of left spin and very low speed to make position for the 9-ball to the left side pocket. However, this shot is very dangerous because there is risk that we can miss object ball due to low speed applied to the cue ball. So in this case we can use second option, where this time we use very similar spin, but we need to apply more speed and let the cue ball to use more rails. After this shot, cue ball makes a contact with 4 rails and lands in very good place with perfect position for the 9-ball to the bottom right corner. First option is good for beginners to increase cue ball control, but if you want to avoid unexpected problems and you understand speed control, then you need to consider second option. We could experience another very interesting and common situations, and I'm sure that this video will help you to make correct decisions during different situations. So if you found this lesson helpful and you appreciate my effort to produce this episode, then please consider leaving a thumbs up for me and hit the subscribe button to never miss my all new video productions. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Take care!